Hi there. I'm on a roll. This is an older journal, not that old. It's from 531, the first of that day, and the Mayan day was 8 wisdom. And it has some links in it, so please click over to scribed so that you can enjoy them. All right. I notice how I keep going in search of wisdom outside of the self. I find real enjoyment in discovering someone else on their pathway back home to source. I need to make this a little bit bigger so I can see it better. So I enjoy finding someone on their pathway home, someone who has gone far enough to have something of value to share. And then I watch myself almost eating their videos up, listening again and again to those few who resonate, to their talks and interviews. Mostly it's a lot of hot air, but there are gems out there. Now, what's going on here? I've been watching this long enough. I feel I have something to share, me with me, about what's going on. Let's find out what it is. First, anytime we find self going to others for wisdom, it's a good idea to watch that really close. Anything of real worth can always be found within. It's crunch time for us, humans on planet Earth. It's an uncomfortable time. Change is going so fast, there's really no one keeping up. Each of us does the best that we can. No one can even evaluate what's going on. It does feel like we have been in some sort of a cocoon, all wrapped up and held motionless for so long, all the growth being within and in processes beyond our control. Are we coming out now? I truly don't know. It seems that we are, and that's my hope. It's also quite possible to fool the self. If we look around a bit on the internet, we can see many folks who are self-deluded and reaching out to help others. Very questionable help. I find it best to leave quickly. Stay with anything long enough, and it can begin to sound reasonable. You're picking that up from the others following that one. It's good to know your own field, your own aura, the sense of it. That's one blessing that is available in abundance to the hermits among us. Being self-isolated so much, we become well acquainted with the feel of what it's like to be us. We seldom encounter other auras to merge and mingle with, so we've no real doubt about the feel of our own. And that makes it easier to tell when we're being communicated with first. Everyone's thought processes, their thoughts, have a regular feel, almost a thumbprint of their own. We sort of mark our thoughts with our energy, the patterns. It's also in just the way we arrange our words, distinctively, characteristically. Thoughts, even the same thought, will bear the imprint of the one who thinks them. You get more than bare words or concepts with a telepathic thought. It's also easier to tell when someone or something is trying to influence us. We well know the feel of our own thought patterns, and more, of course, for we are so much more than mere thought-making machines. There is just an overall sense of what it's like to be you, and you can feel something moving against that, trying to shift, change, or influence it. Where am I going with this? I don't really know. As usual, I don't know why I'm journaling either, so what's new, right? I don't know. Just living on Earth in this day and age is a bit like walking while bucking a huge wind. Some days just a strong wind, others a hurricane gale. And that's just to be here. Never mind trying to get something done. Oh, and yes, of course, some days the wind is very much with us. There are so many things arrayed against the being of man and woman these days that it's amazingly challenging to find yourself, to awaken in the midst of them. Yet we are, and that says a lot about us. We're pretty darn special. That's my take on it. We are truly divine, and there is nothing, simply nothing, keeping us back, nothing that can. All of this stuff seemingly arrayed against us. Good luck with that, guys. That nonsense used to work pretty well, but no more. Your day is done, bad guys. Get over it. Shift over to light or take a hike. It's our turn. We don't have to be nasty about it, of course, and we won't. That's not our style anyway. But we can certainly be firm. We're not so brittle that we break, though. Again, not our style. We're as flexible, as bendable as the water that carves through stone. We may seem weak and unformed, but don't go against us or do so at your peril. You may lose your dark identity in the midst of it, so you have fair warning. Best to leave us alone. We're going home. Home in consciousness, right here. Back to our origin, our original purity and power. We are divine. We may lose little skirmishes here and there. We may stumble at times, sure, but don't be deceived. There's nothing weak here in any of us. Just watch how we band together, how we pick each other up and drool. True love is nothing you have the least clue about, Mr. Bad Guy. The dark forces think God or Source and divine love are namby-pamby or mythical. They sound way too good to be true to them, and so to many, they're nothing but myth. They're afraid to hope, actually. If you think life is hard for you, imagine being some little lieutenant on the dark side trying to satisfy your boss. A truly thankless task filled with endless abuse. Talk about no one to trust. We haven't a clue about what real hell is. It's their regular life. We all create our own hells. Most of us haven't awakened to that yet, or not fully. Heck, most don't even recognize projection at work when they're displacing their own internal garbage onto those around them or those they see in the media, until we can back up from things enough to begin to recognize such basic psychological mechanisms at work. We'll have trouble relating to something like being the creator of our own hell. So much has to go in a certain order in order to be made useful. Feed it to us the wrong way and it just doesn't click. We don't have what we need in the right order to decode life as it's occurring. Source must be such a wonder to be able to juggle so many balls and have them all come out just right. And they do. If we each look at the individual things that come to us in a day, it's possible to see this in action. Everything speaks. It all has a message, tailor-made just for us. While this seems impossible, that's to underestimate life or source. Same thing. Yeah, we've got to give up our images of God while we're at it. All the paintings and the artwork did him, her, it no good. You can't paint source. Things you can picture or imagine what they look like are objects, things of 3D. Now, how ridiculous is it to try to bring Source down to 3D? It's pretty crazy and a hopeless task since it can't be done. And if we buy into any image of any kind for Source, we do ourselves wrong. Though I may not be able to really explain it, this thing of not imaging Source is pretty important somehow. That's how I feel. It's best to be empty of images, of labels for Source. It doesn't need to be thought of. I find heart the best approach to communing with and on Source. Heart has the best shot at making a successful approach. We are actually contained within the body of Source. Being omnipresent or present everywhere, Source contains all there is, and then some, of course. Source has no limits, no boundaries at all. We think in terms of definition, limits, and boundaries as a result of experiencing 3D, where those things hold and have some meaning. Even just the next couple of dimensions up, they lose their form and meaning. So how can they possibly apply to what holds all dimensions? It's nuts, but we do it. Very strange. This is a good time and a good subject on which to practice emptiness, being empty of pictures or concepts around Source. Names and labels too. Source is enough. I just use Source, sometimes Prime Creator. It's a real challenge, but not so hard when practiced from heart, where time-space doesn't hold up. Frankly, in our human forms, as Nanci Danison shares, we'd be bowled over, even physically sickened, were we to encounter the fullness of the love of Source. It's too much for the 3D body to begin to contain. It's fun growing up, as it were, moving on and beyond our 3D home. It's been nice here. Oh, the experiences we've had and the things we've done and undone together down through the millennia. We've made a lot of beautiful bonds, had some wonder-filled times, as well as experienced things we'd rather not have done. Well, do remember, it all comes out in the wash. There is absolutely, positively no inkling of judgment in Source. Forget the Bible's God, my friends. That isn't the ultimate God or source of the all. Now that's shocking to some, and no doubt I lose subscribers over saying it, but I love truth more than all, so I don't care. I was shocked too, and not so long ago either. It's possible to get over that and move on, expand out, and pretty quickly too. It's not that there's no God, it's not that there's not one God, it's just that that's not quite the one. So, you don't lose God or Source at all. You just lose a false image that was doing more to keep you from the real one than bringing you home to that. We've got to grow up and set aside false images, all of them, and they're piled high all around. It hurts to grow up. I wonder how many of us can really remember back to our childhood and to how it hurt to learn certain things. Growing up is hard work, no doubt about it. And that's for the children that had wonderful times, wonderful homes. We all have a direct connect, direct internal access to Source. We can all make that connection within. The masters have long directed us there, saying things like, the kingdom is within, well, it is. When will we truly hear? When truly go there? It's available, but the road in is a wee bit challenging. We must be ready to pay the price. And the price is the world, in a way. It's to give up all attachment to anything external. Things will come and go in our lives anyway, just like before. We just won't be so attached that we're broken up or overly joyful at their comings and goings. That's one part of the price, letting go. If we'll just take ourselves far less seriously, that would be a huge help. So often we get ourselves in fixes that wouldn't be as they are if we didn't take everything so darn seriously. It doesn't really mean as much as we take it to mean. The interaction, the relationship is far more important. Yet we've got to prove that to ourselves. So it can be slow going or not, as we choose. This is where the old lighten up saying is so very useful. To have a sense of humor and be quick to laugh at the self especially, these are real gold. There are many who only wish they had such precious gifts. Let a lot go to be able to get there. And yet we can carve them out. We can take them for our own. It takes a choice made again and again. The other part of the price for entry into the internal kingdom is setting mind aside. When we finally find we can exist for a while without referring to mind, that's a big thing. It will feel really strange, but we're getting serious about entering the kingdom when we're working on this. To place attention centered in the chest and not refer to thought, that's what it takes. To not refer to thought, to not think, also means to have our attention inward focused and not on the world. The world will fill us with thoughts. Sometimes it seems that's what it's there for. It's such a faithful thought maker, the world. It takes a bit of practice and determination to step back from thought, but it surely can be done. Anyone who wants to can surely reach this point, if, as Sri Nisargadatta says, they are earnest, sincere. He said that's all it takes. It's actually impossible to fail. What a thought, huh? But it is. Stay in heart. Let it go. Stay in heart. Given the earnest heart, the one willing to apply determination and persist, that one cannot fail. Read I Am That if you want a really good guidebook, and skip over any parts that make no sense to you. Just set them aside, ignore them, take in only what feels right. It is enough. And this wonderful and large book is freely available online. It's frankly amazing, such a valuable book. All the tools we require are available in abundance. When we compare our age to the ones gone before, where you would have 20 years of preparation before even being accepted to enter at the lowest level into the mystery school, we have it far too easy, my friends. Some hold these things lightly because they're so easily available. Yet there are priceless gifts just waiting to be picked up for nothing. It's shocking. A really good point to keep in mind, though, is that all that we need is actually within. We have it. We are it already. While that doesn't make much sense at the start, it will. over time, as we begin to step away from 3D, our inward focus deepens, and so that makes more and more sense. As in the Zen work called The 10 Bulls, we find we went off in search of what was right here all along. But would we have found it if we just stayed right here? It depends on who your teacher is to some extent, I suppose. I don't know. It's certainly possible. Yet even Buddha had to go looking before coming to find the golden gift right within. So maybe the journey too is mandatory. I don't really know. But you can test the waters. You can find the answer for yourself. One thing I do know, and that's that we're helping each other just by our sharing online. That doesn't mean that any one of us has all the answers, or even most of them. Yet somehow we're more and more enabled to recognize what is within by seeing it displayed for us in other faces, other voices, via our sharing. And it strengthens us. So I thank you all for what you have done, even if only to leave a comment here and there. It makes a difference. It leaves your mark, the mark of your particular energy, there for the rest of us to happen along. We truly are all one, and it's a joy and delight finding our reflection in one another. May your day be full of joy and blessings, and may you pass them on in your days and in your nights, just by how you live, just by being you.